Hi everyone, welcome to LA County Library event, Women in Hip Hop and Social Media. I'm Crystal, Library and Community Library Manager here at Compton Library, and I'll be your host. Thank you for joining us today as we explore the legacy and impact of women in hip hop with a live discussion led by SenYon Kelly and Medusa the Gangsta Goddess. Over the last couple of years, several social media accounts and platforms have popped up, creating spaces that spark high-level discussion and trends centered around female rap. SenYon Kelly, owner of Nubian Video Archives and Collectibles, is a serial entrepreneur, producer, researcher, and collector of music and movie memorabilia. She is also the operations manager and curator for Universal Hip Hop Museum located in Bronx, New York. Joining her will be Medusa the Gangsta Goddess, often referred to as the godmother of West Coast hip hop. Medusa is a respected hip hop artist who makes scenes as a performer and an educator. Medusa's experience as a queer hip hop artist reframe and expand our understanding of the influence of women and women of color musicians and performers on the creation of community, social activism, and popular music aesthetics. What an intro.
Those two girls there.
Thank you, ladies, for being here with us today.
Appreciate it. Inviting.
Yes. So, as you guys are aware, or you may not be aware, this year marks the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Also, March is Women's History Month. So, to end Women's History Month, why not end with you two ladies?
I love it. We are officially a part of history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Miss SenYon, let's start with you. All of your background, your information, owner of Nubian Video Archives and Collectibles. Let's start with that. What do you do there? What is that?
Well, basically, I started collecting music and movie memorabilia when I was about 6 years old. My father was a musician and my mom was into the theater. And my dad got me into collecting with coins. That didn't work because I would spend the money on ice cream and buy everybody on the block ice cream and candy and stuff like that. So as a result of him, he tried another avenue. So then that's when the albums came into play. So, for my 9th birthday, he bought me every single Ohio Player album they had. And if you've ever seen an Ohio Player album cover, it could be very racy. So from there, I went from the music and then just naturally gravitated to videos. And then the videos became posters and memorabilia and everything like that. So from that, I've had people reach out to me to use some of my memorabilia and collectibles and artifacts as props for like movies, videos, album covers, all kinds of things. We're celebrating 25 years. It aired some time ago. I think it was 2002. They used memorabilia from my personal collection for their posters and to actually have inside of the documentary that was on NBC. So that was my first time actually stepping out and doing that. But yeah, so that's how it all started, and it turned into a business, and then eventually, I would have like events, Medusa would have shows and different things like that. I'd be outside like selling tapes and, VHS tapes of concerts and things like that. I probably shouldn't have, but I was doing it anyway. Yeah, so it evolved into that. And the next thing, I think naturally would be, curating. So that's how I became a curator with the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I started with them in 2017 as an advisory board member. And then from there, I became a curator and now also an operations manager. So that's how that whole evolution of collecting became something that I could share with everyone else. Stuff that people don't have. I've been collecting for quite some time.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah.
And then just the thing, you made a career out of your love of music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I know, because I've had friends, are you going to be hip hop or are you going to be corporate? I said, you know what? I'm going to be both.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened, because they were just like, you're so irritating. You're like, you're all this eBay stuff. And it's, Right. And it ended up being, we're like, oh, yeah, you were right. We see you. And it's like, yes, I told you. I mean, you can be corporate in hip hop. It's
Right.
not always the rappers, because everyone always focuses on, the music and the culture in a different way as far as like the 5 elements. But there also is a business side of it too. And, Medusa knows that, there's a business side of it, and that people don't really look at, because there's always somebody in the back, and behind the scenes making things happen. It's not just the artists coming on stage. You've got the people that are working to make sure that they're taken care of.
Right. Wow. And then we heard here, Miss Medusa, the Gangsta Guidance. So I did read somewhere that they compare you to the Angela Davis of West Coast hip hop music. So how
nice.
To be compared, we had to throw in Angela Davis from Librarian, but then to combine that with West Coast hip hop, tell us how you started.
Oh, wow. I started in hip hop as a pop locker. So I was a part of a crew called the Groovatrons. And when you dealt with hip hop in the beginning, you wanted to be a little bit of all hip hop. So some of us were MCs and graph artists. Some of us were B-boys and rappers, so I was the pop locker that had a few rhymes. Used to ditch a lot. I went to school in Pomona and used to go to Radiotron, which is a very influential hip hop historical place, because all of the b-boying and different moves and crews developed there at the Groovatron. No, we're Groovatron, my bad. But Radiotron. So it's a lot of us have evolved into elders now. So we know where to put our knowledge base and experience. You know what I'm saying? So me starting in pop locking and meeting b-boys. So now I'm doing breakdance moves. And then I turn around and I've always been a vocalist because of my auntie, Billy Calvin. She was with a group called The Undisputed Truth. So she inspired me into music. Had a record collection. My mom's record was my favorite thing to do. So I'm influenced by those times as well. You're talking about George Clinton in Parliament. You're talking Bootsy. You're talking Aretha Franklin, the Isley Brothers, Earth, Wind, and Fire. All of this, plus what I learned in high school on my own, mixed with the hip hop that's coming and the pop locking. I was like, oh yeah, I got my pick. This is an art. This is a thing. That's how I got started in hip hop in general. As I got older, I did some little licks and crimes and ended up going to jail. So in there, I had to make what you would call a pimp decision and decide whether or not I'm going to stay on the same path, or am I going to use the music that inspired me in the past, in addition to the element of hip hop that allowed me to be an adult and an artist without having to go to school for music, So the combination of all of those things and getting out of jail, I was like, okay, what can I do? I can do my passion. I can do what I fell in love with in the beginning, which was hip hop. What can I do in that? I can have a voice. I can have a voice for the women that I was locked up with. The females that were in there for pimping, pandering, drugs, whatnot, and some illiterate wanting you to write a letter to their husband that was in the jail down the road. I was like, these women deserve to have a voice. When I get out, I'm going to focus through hip hop and give women a voice. So I became Medusa when I got out of jail. The first thing I did when I got out was go to the studio. I came up with the name Medusa because I wanted to turn whack MCs to stone. Oh.
Did you get the visual?
Right. So from that point on, coming out of Civil Brand, I made a conscious decision that this is what I'm going to give my energy to.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story.
And my first invite to a hip hop event was the Good Life Cafe.
Okay.
That's where the shine began. That's where other MCs that approached rhyming in a different way, rhyme schemes and styles in a different way, inspired me to be. I'm like, oh, we can be open in a different way in hip hop. I don't have to gangbang.
Right.
I don't have to be like super sexual, ultra sexual. You know what I mean? It provided a space that I didn't think existed in hip hop. So it was easier for me to go from this age of pop locking and love for hip hop and the elements into the Good Life Cafe.
Right.
Yeah, it allowed me a proper transition.
Okay. And you keep mentioning the Good Life Cafe. Can you tell us more about that?
Good Life Cafe, open mic. It was vegan. It showed us how to deal with herbs, wheatgrass. We were being introduced as youngsters to some interesting things in the Good Life Cafe. On top of that, B Hall and her son created an open mic in this space that probably only held about 70 people. But we would pack about 150 people, and whoever didn't make it inside was outside in the parking lot waiting for the rest of the MCs to come out and cipher. Okay, so in the Good Life Cafe, you were with the likes of a Freestyle Fellowship, a Far Side, Pigeon John. You had, it was a lot of heavyweights would fall through, and later on in the Good Life's lifespan, they started coming from everywhere just to see the new fashion and flavor of emceeing that it provided.
Yeah.
So the Good Life Cafe, Exposition in Crenshaw, it was a health food store, and it opened a door for us South Central heads to have something else to do besides ill things.
Right. But then also too, you ended up having your own joint too. Nappy at the Roots.
Yeah, but that was way.
It was like later, but still, you still had kind of took a little bit of that same flavor, right?
Definitely.
And infused that into Nappy at the Roots, because I helped you with that. And while we're on the subject with social media, this was happening before social media. So remember how I would, go and take the little clipboard around and have everybody fill out their stuff and like text every single person that Medusa was performing. And I still have just stacks and stacks of sheets with people's names, because there was no Facebook back then, and so how am I going to let these people know that Medusa is performing other than having like a free ad someplace? So we'd sit down and we would take turns, texting people the information.
And what's funny is even before we went to Fado Do's, I was doing Nappy at the Roots at Black to Jupiter. And there was a crew of brothers I dealt with, from Kelu Grand on DJing to Jay Smooth on the setup and helping me pull artists from different areas to this space. So we were the first in LA to have Goody Mob at this warehouse on Adams called Black to Jupiter that no one really messed with. You know what I'm saying? So we had freedom in this space. It was open mics, there were battles, we had our own bar, we had, it was a beautiful thing. And then we moved from Black to Jupiter over to Fado Do's. And that's when her and I and Lady Copper got connected and really expounded on what an adult good hip hop time is.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask. How did y'all meet? How did y'all get, because
just mutual friends. I've known Medusa since a long time. We've been like 30 years. Yeah. 84, 85.
And y'all are still
for a long time.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And y'all are still just flourishing off of each other.
Working. I support her and what she's doing. She supports, what I do. That's what it's about. Is community. That's what hip hop is about. Hip hop is about community. That's where it all started. In the community, and people coming together, and everybody has different things that they can contribute to something to make it amazing. And my background is in finance and business. Even though I'm a creative, I'm also a business person. Pivot tables, formulas, things like that. So people will come, hey, take a look at this contract. Can you what do you think?
I still do it.
Yeah. No, don't do this, boo boo. Red line it, send it back. But then, she'll send me a track, and it's like, okay, I like that. Bring the bass up, whatever. Or that sounds dope. Check out this little glitch at such and such. So, it's a good marriage in that way.
Right. It's good to have to be able to depend on somebody for certain aspects of your life, strengths and weaknesses. So balancing each other out with that partnership.
Right.
So,
Well, somebody who has your best interest in mind, because not everybody has your best interest. It's like some people who come across as seeming like they're there for you to help you, but it's like, I genuinely care about her. So, it's not about the money, because my whole thing is, if you do something that you're passionate about, no matter what, the money follows.
Right.
You know, and believe me, somebody who is a creative that has come out of corporate America. You know, my last corporate job was a financial analyst for Toyota, but would I rather be there making six figures, or would I rather be in hip hop doing what I love, that's passionate, and have maybe a bunch of projects that'll get me to that salary? So
That part.
you know, so that's what I say.
Wow.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that you're bi-coastal. So you're in New York and
Yeah.
you're over here in LA.
Yeah.
There's a difference, distinct difference
Mhm.
between regional hip hop.
Mhm.
How do you feel about New York hip hop versus West Coast hip hop?
That's a great question. I think that they both have their own flavor, you know. I mean, because if you have to think about it, it's like people in California experiencing things different than New York, and then you've got weather, you've got things that happen socially and politically in here in California that don't happen in New York. You know, they've got rat issues, we don't. I mean, like, there's so many different things. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like I have love and respect for both coasts. Even before I became involved in the Universal Hip Hop Museum, I always believed that it doesn't matter where you're from. It's like music is universal, and you have something that people can relate to. I started even then, before, like in the mid 90s, I worked with an artist development company that helped develop images for people. Then they did the hair and makeup, photography, wardrobe, and so we would have different images from people for the East Coast, and then different images for people for the West Coast. So it's really it's just a matter of what your preference is. I like both equally. I feel that for some reason it seems like the West Coast hip hop has more of an influence in the R&B, like a lot of the if you listen to like Warren G, and it's just like I mean, I love the
Kind of funk driven.
yeah, it's more like funk driven, whereas like the East Coast has their own thing.
Yeah, that's like listening to George Clinton in comparison to jazz. Because you got boom bap and you got G funk. It's
Right.
two entirely different vibes.
Right.
But at the same time, those two different styles of hip hop were the first virtual for individuals that did not live the life of hip hop. We could listen to it and actually explore and experience it in that way, or find out how that person is living in New York in comparison to LA. We waited for that song to come out. So we found our, you sit on the stoop and feel like this too? We do too. Wait, hold up. You can see our differences and our likeness within, listening to music. But when you bring it into now, and it's so immediate.
With the social media, it is immediate.
I'm just saying,
it's like
it's
out
immediate
there.
gratification.
Yeah. It is. And then even with social media, if y'all don't follow Medusa, the Gangsta Goddess, she does these morning coffee bars. I love your morning coffee bar. So can you tell them what your morning coffee bar is about? Like, why'd you start this? When did you start it? What's it about?
I always try to do something different. I want to see what's out there, and I'm going to do quite the opposite, or something that hasn't been challenged yet. In the morning, I'm a coffee head anyway, and there's always that point in the coffee moment where you really hypey, and when I'm hypey, I'm turning on that style of music. It's high energy. I might be rhyming to it. I might be spitting, and started spitting with some friends at the house one day, and they were like, "Damn, I haven't heard that rhyme in a minute. People need to hear you say it like that, a cappella. I understand it better. I could just feel you." So after that day, I was like, maybe I should just start every morning with my coffee, giving them some bars that they might know, they might not know, or just straight freestyle. And it keeps me exercising.
Right.
It keeps my sword sharp.
Yeah. And you are authentically yourself. I love it. I'm social media. That's what I do. I'm always on social media. So just seeing you pop up, and you are active. I will say you are very active. You were just out there doing something yesterday. You just celebrated birthday.
Yes.
So happy belated birthday.
Thank you. That's funny. I have a song that is about to drop. We just finished a video for it. It's called Get Out At It, How the Game Go. And it's 2 months of work. Camera followed me around to all of these events I participated in. So the collage of this video is at least 8 different spots that I hit. In one day, I hit 3 different events in one day. I performed 2 different festivals and then my own event. So it's a part of this video. And that's just the epitome of how you have to get down. I'm old school. I remember pulling up in a rap van and had 5 girls jumping out with flyers to hit every club and school we pulled up to. That was our platform. We had to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
there's a lot more work in it.
Yeah,
because you had to get out there to, like, if you wanted people to know something was happening. I mean, where were you going to do it? There was no
hand to hand.
You know, before you know, all the different social media platforms, even from the earliest.
Yeah.
There was no way to really like let folks know, so word of mouth. I mean, and getting creative, even like the flyers are passed out because when we were doing, Copper and I were doing Neapolitan magazine, I remember going to one of the local CVS's and asking them for all their empty reels of film, and we took it and made it creative. So it's like this little thing of, looked like a piece of
film.
Yeah, piece of film, like a little canister. And you pull it out to find out where the party was. So we had to be more creative in that way. Where with, social media now, I mean, since we're on that subject, it's like, it's just a little different. You're actually curating your whole experience and what you want people to see.
And coming from a different space of whatever was happening in our LA streets at the time, it was a lot of banging, but if you pulled up and you were open and free enough to say, hey, you would really like this spot.
Right.
It taught you how to socialize.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It taught you how to be okay with approaching someone and you not have any issues with being social. You know what I mean? I feel like with this new social network, people hide behind things and then they have a hard time with their coping skills when someone is face to face.
Right.
And we're dealing with an actual issue. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
it has its advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I love that everyone is readily available and music is readily available. But I also, on top of showing you that on a platform, I'm going to come to your spot. I'm going to support it. I'm going to dialogue with you. I'm going to find out what it is that you desire to feel from hip hop right now, and then cater to that. Sometimes you can't get that on a platform. Right. You know what I mean?
More of a personal touch.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like that's still necessary in this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I had one time, I'm just thinking about something. I had an event that I was doing, and I guess apparently there was somebody that said that they knew who I was or whatever like that. And then on social media, maybe. So she's like, I'm looking for, SenYon or whatever. Excuse me. She says, I'm looking for SenYon. Do you know where she is? It's just right here. But this is what I'm saying. It's like, you think you're connected, but you're really not connected. Right. It's just like, I've been talking to you for like 3 weeks now. Like, you don't know what I look like. It's funny. But still, it's just that whole, connection, like she said. It's like, I think it's good because you're able to reach more people, but then again, when you actually have meeting people in person, it's just like, what does that look like? Because you've been talking to someone or they're following you on Facebook, and it's not quite the same, right. So I think there still needs to be, even though, yes, you're doing it and you're reaching more people and you have your music out or whatever it is that you're trying to do and have initiatives and events and things like that, I think there still needs to be like a personal touch to being involved in advertising whatever it is that you're doing.
Right, I agree. And when you were talking about, getting the word out and flyers and stuff, that's also an element of hip hop art.
Yes.
And a lot of people, like you mentioned, Miss Medusa, a lot of people just want to say that hip hop is rap.
Yeah.
But you mentioned there's 5 elements. That's actually expanded to
some
a lot
people
more.
Say there's 6 and more.
But yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah. So it really depends on who you're talking to.
Right. And so it's just like street entrepreneurialism. That's the element of hip hop. You know,
Yes.
art, graffiti, and like both of you mentioned, it's a culture.
It is. It's a culture. It's
And
a
it
way of
ties
life.
people together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I try to tell my students that, you know, this hip hop is still young. It's in its embryonic stages still. So there's room for you to have a voice in what other elements are added to this.
Right.
Choose wisely.
Yeah.
You know, it's there for you.
Ms. SenYon, you wrote an article which I saw. It's Rise of Fly Girls, the Compton and South Central women who helped shape West Coast hip hop. Tell us more about that
Yes.
article.
Well, I mean, you know, basically, I had a conversation with Yo-Yo. Everyone knows who Yo-Yo is, and also Shari Henry, who was Eazy-E's right hand up until he passed away. Rest in peace. And also Martha Diaz, who is the founder of the Hip Hop Education Center. And just basically, you know, having conversations with them about like what influenced them, you know, who they had in their lives to help shape their, you know, their culture of hip hop and what they were thinking, you know, what they were doing at the time. You know, again, I wanted to have someone who was an educator, which was Martha, and then you have the artist, which was Yo-Yo, and then you had Shari Henry, who was basically the from a business perspective. So it was a nice balance, and it started out as an interview, and then the interview became an article.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's what basically what I wanted to show is like how the West Coast was influenced and get Yo-Yo's view and Shari and as well as Martha's view on how it started and what the foundation of it was and to bring us to where we are now.
Right.
Yeah.
As I'm working and learning about hip hop and West Coast hip hop music, Compton has a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about a lot. And I know a lot of people, you know, they always focus on the negative misconceptions about Compton and what you hear about it.
Yeah.
But Compton has breeded a lot
poppin'.
of, it is. So just to be here and then even just the areas around Compton, you know, Lamar Park, like your shirt says, you know.
Yeah, that's where I live in Lamert Park.
Oh, do you?
Because you got Chaos Network there too.
What's Chaos Network?
Chaos Network, you want to tell them what it is?
That's where Project Globe was created. Ben Caldwell has Chaos Network, and we workshopped it to death. And he's one of the elders in the community. He puts us on the right path. But you did have Chaos Network. You still have Chaos Network. You had Fifth Street Dicks, which was a jazz coffee house. You still have the World Stage. The World Stage is jazz, poetry, and now even hip hop. You have Barbara Morrison's Theater on Degnan. All of these are on Degnan in Lamert Park, and Barbara Morrison is a jazz great, God rest her soul. So you have a lot of greatness happening in Lamert Park, even the Vision Theater back in the day. You know, they used to have events that you wouldn't see anywhere else.
Yeah.
So Lamert Park is something special to my heart. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And you keep going. Do you ever feel like you're gonna stop? Nah, it don't. Hip hop don't stop.
No.
It evolves. It just evolves into different things, and you know, and there was an event that the museum did called Hip Hop for Peace, and we had people from all over. We had people sending in video footage from Israel, from Japan, from France, and different languages and different. I mean, it was just beautiful to see that something that just was like a seed that was planted just became so diverse and like people from all over the world, different walks of life, it's kind of cool. Even like with, anyway, so that's what I'm saying. It's just like, I don't know, pretty dope.
It's the everything right now. It's the frosting, it's the gravy, it's the lollies. Hip hop is all of those things. Right. What type of seasoning are you looking for?
Right.
Yeah. And I love hip hop because it's allowed me to be all the personalities that are inside of me. I'm sure if I was restricted to a label and curbed back in the day, I probably would have gotten that all out of my system and strictly been on this plate as some sexy, but right now I get to be all of me.
Right.
I get to be a little masculine, a little feminine. I get to be funky. I get to be soulful. I get to do a little bit of house. I get to do some trap, whatever I feel in the moment. And I think for women in general, that's necessary because we came up with the dynamics and of being very feminine for cooking, cleaning, having children. So to have hip hop of a function that you can be all of you in, ladies, take advantage of it. Explore yourself because I'm being my full mini selves in hip hop. That's why I love it.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, you're definitely representing women in a positive light. So kudos to y'all for just being that for women. Women of color is very important to be that, especially in the arts, because as you are aware, I'm sure they're trying to get rid of the arts, in the schools and the curriculums. They want to get rid of it. But I need people to see that people can actually build a career out of the arts. And that's what you've done. You may not necessarily need a degree. You don't need to tread college. As long as you're successful or you're passionate about what you're doing, you can make a living out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what most of you have done.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. It's like you do what you're passionate about, and the money will follow. And it's about networking and respecting the people that are helping you get where you have to go too. And I think that a lot of times people forget that.
Absolutely.
The way that I treat my friends and my network is the way that I would treat my money. You respect your money, you make sure you take care of it. I see it's the same way. It's just different people, different things. And you can leverage people in a positive way.
Right.
And it's about reciprocity. You don't have to step on people to get where you have to go. And anyone who knows me knows, Medusa knows, my name means everything to me. So it's like I make sure that I'm doing the right thing all the time, so I don't have to worry about what I said or what I did.
Right. That is important. Your name speaks volumes for yourself.
It's your brand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is. And so I saw some pictures. Actually, the image that we use of you say Grammy behind it.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Well, I got down back in the days in the 90s. There was a Latin group called Ozomali. And they were probably some of the hottest Latin hip hop that had blended together in LA. They had Charlie Tuna as the lead MC. And I used to look at him like, God, I would love to work with them. And he called me one day. Hey, we have this song we'd love for you to jump on. Like, really? Verbal artillery. Okay.
She manifested that.
You said, oh my God, I wanted that so bad.
Yeah.
And here we go. I recorded, had no idea it was even up for a Grammy. Wow. I got the call and said, hey, that song won a Grammy. You have a Grammy with that. Get out of here. So
see how things happen?
Right.
I mean, like how many years ago?
Yes, right.
That's crazy.
That's like you're talking 90, once again, 98.
99. That's a while ago. Yeah, I have a crazy Ozomatli story I want to tell you real quick. So I went to go see Ozomatli at the House of Blues, and I was like, God, I really want to get backstage. How am I going to do this? I was like, figured it out. So I went and bought a bunch of food, and I go to the security guard. I said, look, one of my boyfriends is a member of the Ozomatli, and I need to get this food to make sure that he eats before, because they're taking a break right now, right? And they were like, yeah. So I go in and I set all the food out, and everyone's, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh man, it's like I was trying to buy a shirt, and they ran out, and the guy's like, you can have mine, sweaty and everything, takes it off. So we sit there, eat, no pictures, no autographs, nothing. It's like, nice to meet you guys. Boop, boop, I'm SenYon. And I left.
That's awesome.
Do you still have a shirt?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a
But yeah, that's my Ozomatli story.
That is so cool. That's so cool. Wow. Just like, I love seeing your passion. And when you think of these stories, just seeing the expression on your face as you're thinking of it, it's just great.
Yeah.
Really to see it, because it's really in you and it shows and you reflect it, like your passion for music, and you can see that it's not just work for you.
Yeah.
Like y'all, both
I love
y'all,
it.
y'all love it.
Yeah, I love it. I've even like, look, this is how dedicated I am. There are a couple times Medusa's like, the background singer's not here. Can you do some scratch vocals so when she gets here, we can know what it's supposed to sound like? I'm like, okay, I'm right there. So sometimes Medusa will be performing and you're supposed to be watching her. Next thing I know, I'm like doing the whole thing and know all the words. Even just recently for your birthday, to put in work, like every single element of it. I knew every single
everyone
word.
looking at her like, how do you know all the words?
It was fun.
So what's next? Do you have any projects next? I know you mentioned that you had another album coming out.
I do. I actually have 2 EPs, one with Georgianne Muldrow called Top Shelf Funk, the other with Patrick Antonian called The Age of the Pisces. On top of that, I'm in the mix with one, Breeze from OG LA Posse and Master C. We're finishing up one too. So, I'm just going to hit them with 3 different EPs and then my own music. Which I have the live band back together again. So we're going in the studio to actually give people their live album they've been waiting for. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
That's cool.
All right. And what about you? What's next for you?
What's next for me? Gosh, I have so many things that I'm doing right now. Where do I start? This is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So, there's several activations and events that'll be happening across the world. I mean, everywhere, like South, here in Los Angeles and New York, so those things are happening. And I've got a couple of personal projects that I want to get off the ground. So we'll see.
I will say, y'all make it look easy. Like, y'all look good, y'all don't look stressed. Like, y'all make it look easy, which I know it hasn't been. Nothing, worth it is ever comes easy. But how do you keep moving? What motivates you to keep doing it? Is your passion? Your love for hip hop?
My passion and my love for hip hop. Yeah. Look, even with something like, I think that, when you think about things, you manifest things in different ways. And, even before I became involved with the museum, I used to always say I would love to have a museum to put my things in to show everyone, because I've got and not just, it wasn't a hip hop museum, it was just a museum itself. So, I've got like Josephine Baker programs. I've got lunch bills from the 70s. I got my Jackson 5 board games. I've got all kinds of really dope stuff. And so I used to always say, I want to have a museum. But even though I didn't have my museum, I'm actually helping to produce something it doesn't matter if it's not mine. It belongs to everybody.
Yeah.
So I manifested it in a way where it wasn't mine, but I'm actually a part of a team that's from the ground up that's making this happen, and preserving something that is important, historically to the world. Like, where it started, the different players in it, and just basically curating it in a way where it's like we're making sure that everyone has the story correct, from timelines to like storytelling, and that's what it's about. Yep.
Hey, I have to go back when you said, it's you being a good person. That I think that's why we still look good and we look like it's easy. Because if you stay good to others, good things continue to happen to you.
Right.
And even though we could feel like, damn, this is taking a long time. Oh my God, they're not recognizing. It doesn't matter as long as you are the righteous person that you're supposed to be, that God energy that you're supposed to be. It attracts it, it inspires, and it always comes back to you.
Right.
It always does. So I think that's why we could be this grown and still look good and still look relaxed and still have a difficult time in life, but let it happen.
Yeah.
And we got coping skills in comparison to, the newer generations. It's a rough one for them,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so with how do you feel about the current state of hip hop?
I think it's shape shifting.
Okay.
There was a time in hip hop where we used a lot of live music, because you got to understand hip hop was coming out of disco, out of live music into creating its own sound. and we still use musicians. We have them come in, we pay them their scale for being on all these different tracks. And now the energy is becoming like that. Like, oh, I want to call some live musicians in now. So there's a shift of vibration that's happening because of that, and recognizing again where this music came from. It stemmed from live music.
Yeah.
It stemmed from the JBs. It stemmed from funk.
Mandrill.
The mandrels. You know what I mean? So to have a new wave of a generation revisiting how to do some live music in hip hop, I feel like that's what's happening.
Right.
And women are starting to take what they want in this hip hop. So they're being heard a lot different than what the sexuality dictated. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and no one minds being a little bit hard and a little bit soft and a little bit sexy. They're starting to explore all of them. And I appreciate the change that's happening.
Yeah.
I really do.
I mean, there is a lot of change. I mean, because you even, you have artists that, like a Little Nas X that, I mean, you would never see someone coming out that at fashion and be so amazing and huge, So there's a lot of things that are changing with that as far as the LGBTQIA plus community. You have people like, this is what I'm doing and this is who I am. And if you don't like it, so what? People aren't hiding behind, their views, their sexuality, preferences, whatever it is.
And we couldn't even do that back in the day.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't cool to have that dialogue.
No.
You couldn't say you were a gay rapper.
Right.
You know what I mean? But your raps are kind of weak and you sounded kind of gay. But that was the way you said it back then.
Right.
Now you have to find a way to say it what you really mean. That was really weak.
Right.
That was really soft.
Right.
You know what I mean? But because of the open page right now, men aren't afraid to have that dialogue with me now.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing about it is, if you're dope, you're just dope.
Yeah.
No one's like, people are going to always judge, but I think that the world has become a little bit more accepting and open to different things. Again, like Medusa said, it's shape shifting, and some of the people that have embraced hip hop over the years maybe they don't look like you or me, and I think when you have a genre of music, a culture, a community, a whole just plethora of different backgrounds and stuff, and you have people like that come together, I mean, that's huge. And hip hop has bridged the gap for so many different things. I mean, you figure, when it first started, it was like, people were getting booed off the stage. Now it's a, multi-million-dollar, maybe trillion-dollar industry.
Definitely. I
mean, cereal, you know what I mean? It's just like, from cereal to dishwashing soap to ice cream. It's just like, there's so many different things that you should look at. It's like, wow, this is, what is that? So that's how, you know what I mean? It's just like everyone's, benefiting off of it in some way,
And music, the arts being pulled out of the schools.
Yeah.
If you have a college or any university that is for the arts, they would prefer you to go pay for the art than to get it for free in high school. That's what's changing. That's the dynamics that are changing. Yeah, even agriculture.
Right.
How can I allow agriculture to stay in a high school when I'm trying to have greenhouses and we have legal cannabis now? So you have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
And with these new platforms, they have figured out a way for us to pay for everything.
Yeah, well, I think it's important, with the arts being taken out. I mean, even like during the whole, Reaganomics, they were taking stuff out. So, when you take art and ways of being creative and self-sufficient out of a school system, now it's like the parents almost have to make the extra effort to like make sure their kids are exposed to different things, because with music, because I play drums, I play congas, and I also play classical guitar. It's about counting. You're thinking about the math, you know what I'm saying? The amount of patience that you have to like do certain things. It's like you have to take that extra effort. So, like I tell my friends who have kids who are, have babies, it's like, let them listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, you have to make that extra effort to like, expose your kids to stuff. And I mean, it's just almost like a rite of passage, just listening to, the different music that helped shape the music that's here today. So much sampling is going on. It's just like, when I listen to stuff, I'll be like, okay, that's that song, that song, and that song. And one of my friends is like 25 years old. Like, how do you know that? I said, because you just know. And then I'll play her the original and say, oh, yeah. So now, she's like 25, my friend Chloe, and she's playing, those type of songs for her kid. You have to make that extra effort to like expose your kids to stuff.
Right, I agree. And I really feel like music is cultural, because I'm from Georgia, and then when I come here and I talk to people who are here from LA, we have similar things. Like we'll say, on Sunday morning, my mom wake up playing that music. I know what time it means. We gotta clean up. So it's just,
was that Soul Train?
Right.
Everything.
Like it connects you, and it's really important that people realize that music, hip hop, everything, arts, culture, it's all connected. And it can connect you to somebody that you feel like is completely different from you. When you mentioned that hip hop is now across the world, it's global. Like
it's in the Olympics.
Right.
It's an Olympic sport now.
So
who would have thought that 50 years ago you would have people going to be competing in breakdancing?
That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think we'd be spinning ribbons either, but that's
I know, right?
a whole nother conversation.
That's art.
Yeah.
So it is important, and it will connect you to anybody, everything. Like it really does. You can always find that link. And I really feel like with music, somebody that you feel like is just so different from you, you will have some type of connection with them.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that's just dope. One, how y'all are just keeping this up. Y'all are making history. So just thank you, ladies, for continuing doing what you're doing. And then even having a discussion with us at a library, because people are like, what does hip hop have to do with books? Little do you know, everything.
It's a new curriculum.
Right.
Well, because you're capturing history, because it's like, 50, 60 years from now, you're dealing with a whole different group of people. So you're documenting history as you go with the pictures, with the stories. The stories become songs, you've got songs that have become like, or just like the concept of something that become TV shows. There's so many different things that you can like look at that like, have an expansion of different things, I love it. I love hip hop, and hip hop hit for life. Yeah.
So I have to ask you, what were you listening to on your way here?
I was actually on a phone call about a project that I'm working on for Jimi Hendrix, but
oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
We got a little scoop, y'all.
Yeah.
All right.
But no, I wasn't listening to any music. Were you listening to
I was
anything?
listening to
Mooney Walker.
Mooney Walker. He introduced me to this new artist.
Oh, yeah? Mooney Walker.
Who was he?
She ever heard Mooney
Hey.
Walker?
It was dope. It was dope.
What type of music is that?
It was like kind of funky soulful trap.
Okay.
With a little blues undertone.
That's
Got nice
interesting.
vocals.
Okay, I
It
can
was,
check that
it
out.
was trappy, but I could understand him,
Right.
and his swag was really ill.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did he have the storytelling going on? too?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was an EP in the way that it's happening now. So it'll be like hook, long verse, another hook, and then it's gone. So I appreciate it,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We have a short attention span
Everybody
because of the
does
platform.
now.
So it's gotta happen.
Yeah, you got to catch him in the first couple of seconds.
Right.
Otherwise, it's like, hurry up and
Yeah.
talking to your phone. Hurry up and what are you trying to say? Next story.
Yeah, but it was dope.
Okay, so Mooney Walker, right?
Yes, ma'am, the dopest you ever heard.
All right. I will have to take a listen to Mooney Walker. Let's see, what else? You mentioned TikTok. Y'all on TikTok?
No.
No?
I mean, I have a TikTok, account, but I don't really,
Yeah.
don't participate like that. But I'm going to start because I did a Fleet DJ listening session last night.
Mhm.
And they got me so pumped. My heart is so full right now about how they love this music that I'm like, okay, the idea of putting it on TikTok
Yeah.
might have to get pushed through. We might have to go on and give it to them.
Yeah, I think what happens is that once you actually learn the platform and then you have to learn another platform,
Right.
it helps with, them having where you can actually post something and it goes to Facebook or Facebook goes to IG, because it's just a lot of work. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone has done this, but if there's a way that you can kind of get like an idea of how long you stay on the phone,
Mhm.
social media. I'm too busy, but
Yeah,
TikTok is
sure.
definitely a platform that, I would consider exploring, just for content and, letting people know what's going on, something cool, something to check out.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I said, as soon as you learn one thing, there's another one that comes,
Right. There is. When we were talking about Mooney Walker, you asked the type of music, was it storytelling? What type of lyrics or raps do you produce? Is it storytelling? What kind?
It's all of that.
Mhm.
But there's usually a story within everything.
Mhm.
I'm going to take you on a journey. It's going to have a direction, even if I'm just popping at you, even though, it's just spit. I'm still going to have a direction. You know what I mean? But for the most part, yeah, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
For sure. Because hip hop started out with your experience.
Right.
You put your experiences in conversational form on this track.
Yeah. The
You
last
know,
poets.
if you're just stringing words together to make them rhyme, you can, hey, miss me with that. We all were taught Mary had a little lamb and Humpty Dumpty sat on. I know Simple Simon rhyming when I hear it.
That's funny.
So that's all the time that we have today. I really want to
Thank you
thank
for
you
having
ladies
us.
for being here. It was just so insightful. Y'all, when you're talking about personal and then the energy, y'all are so easy to talk to. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous because it's y'all. So thank you so much just for being easy to talk to. Y'all are wonderful.
Thank you. I got you.
I want y'all to shout yourselves out. Let us know, where can the people see you at?
Hit me on IG at Legend Medusa. Actually, all of my social platforms are at Legend Medusa.
Yeah.
Or you can Google Medusa, the Gangsta Goddess, and see what pops up. You can check me out on YouTube in the same way. I'm easy to find if you want to know what's on my mind and you want to participate in the feline science grind. Come on.
That part.
Yeah. You can catch me on Facebook, obviously, as my name, SenYon Kelly. And then I'm on IG as Yanni Pop, at Yanni Pop. YONNIE.
Don't ever say
POP.
that cute. Don't ever say that cute.
Yeah, Yanni Pop.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We hope you have enjoyed Women in Hip Hop and Social Media. Look for more information about other programs on our library website, lacountylibrary.org. For the latest library news and events, please follow us on all social media handles at LA County Library. Follow us, Compton Library, on IG at Compton Library. Stay safe and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Peace, y'all.
See ya.
That was all.